Professor Pete, animation class. We are looking at Animate, Introduction to Animate. Super important that we talk about this because project management is going to be super important as we build our short films in this one singular program. If you want to use different programs because of different reasons, motion blur and After Effects, or you want to add some 3D elements, whatever it is, then that's fine. You can then composite it all in Premiere. But I'm going to assume you're not going to do that. You're going to do everything in Animate. And so this is what we're looking at. Looking at symbols, defining that. We'll also look at scenes, the library, timeline management, how to navigate through the timeline, managing frames, and then shortcut keys as well, and then also playback and exporting. So it's a lot of different things, and we're going to try to go this as quickly as possible. So let's get right to it. First off, I've already imported something in. I'm going to import some more stuff in later, just so I can show you how I would navigate through this. And I'm going to first talk about symbols. We've already created a movie clip, and as you saw it, it's basically a timeline within a timeline. So right now we are in scene 1, and this is another thing. Under Window, you'll see Scenes. So that's how Animate breaks up different timelines. So right now I have 2 scenes. This could be shot 1, shot 2, for example. In that case, I would rename it. It's always good to have a description. So it could be opening, but even though it's just the character, it's not really an opening scene. But I always like to have a description to that shot. If it's just shot 5, shot 10, you don't know what exactly that is. So I always like to put on a keyword from that shot. It could be a change of emotion. It could be happy, sad, whatever it is. That really works well for me. So right now we are in scene 1, shot 1, and we're talking about the different symbols. So first off, as you see, I imported this in. If you go to my library, again, this is Control L, otherwise Window, Library, right here. Right now, you see the assets from a Photoshop document. It's all in here, okay? And that's fine, but if we want to have additional options to each of our graphics, we need to convert it to a graphics. So if you go to Properties, you'll see that it just says Position and Size. Opacity is not there. So if I want to change something, in this case, it's the boy. Let me just double check. It's the boy's body. I don't know why I'm not there. It should be on this layer. Let's see. Eyes, blink. I don't know. I have some problems with my... There's my nose. There's my happy. So I'm having some issues with... Okay, so there is the mouth. I'm going to convert this F8, and it's going to be a graphic. It's going to be smile. It depends on what you have in your entire project, but you can reuse these graphics. So that's the whole point. So we need to convert this to a symbol, and under advanced there's some other stuff not important. So hit OK, and then we have a lot more options. Click OK, and we have a bunch more options. You see here there's color effect such as alpha, which is very important, so we can have this coming in and out as we need it. And there's lip syncing, which you'll learn later. So that's great for the mouth happy, and we can do this for all the other layers. So for example, if we have scene 2, and now we see it's a blank timeline. Let's say it's, I'm going to rename this, double click, shot 2. It's exactly like shot 1, but let's say we do have a smile there. We can then go into the library, and there's the boy smile. We can just bring that in pretty easily. So you can imagine you more or less have all of your graphics created this way and have it done that way. I'll talk more about movie clips, but movie clips is, as you saw it, it's a timeline within a timeline. So if I wanted to have some sort of a laugh, for example, so that between the smile, we can create a loop by using a movie clip, and that will allow us to create like a laughter and just set it once and then drag it in as we need it. So let's go with that. So let's go with a mouth. Let's see if there's a mouth closed here. There's a mouth closed here, and I'm going to convert that to a movie clip. I'm just going to hide the mouth happy and hit F8. This is a graphic, so it's called boy mouth closed. It's graphic, and I can combine these two and make them into a movie clip. So I will go ahead and right now I have mouth closed on this layer. It's a graphic now. I will then hit F8 again and make this into a movie clip, and it'll be called Boy Laugh. You can put MC in front if you want, or MC at the end, so that way you know it's a movie clip. So now there's a boy laugh MC. Double click on that. There's already the mouse shape there. And on frame, let's say it holds for 3 or 4 frames. F5 creates a frame, and then F7 creates a blank keyframe. We can put our smile in. I'm going to center it as best as I can. Let's just make sure. So this one should be centered a little better along the T. Okay, and I'll have this for 4 or 5 frames. So F5, and now this will loop. So once this is over, it'll loop back to this. And so if we go to our timeline, as you can see here, we go back. We are now in here. So let's just double click, make sure what that is. Okay, so we are on the movie clip. So if I were to put a bunch of frames in, just over here, add some frames. Notice that there's no movement here as I'm scrubbing through. And even if I hit play here, also no movement. I've got to play this in order to see the laugh. So if I hit play, you see the movie clip playing there. And so that's how useful it is to have movie clips for loops. Anytime you have a loop, so let's say there's a cloud that goes across the screen, you can make that as a movie clip, animate it once, then drag them in any scene you want, and then that animation just plays over and over again. It's great for butterflies, things like that. That's maybe atmospheric and in cycles. So that's movie clips and graphics. Those are the 2 types of symbols in Animate. We looked a little bit at scenes and library, but as you can see here, if you just double click on here, you can then create more scenes. So here's shot 2, shot 3, and shot 3 here, and then just double click to name them, and then you can just drag them to move them around. So that's also very useful, and very useful. You can also delete, and you can also even duplicate scene, the second one there. And like I said before, the library is here, Control L, and you can create folders, new symbols. You can delete things if you don't need them. You can select unused items and delete them as well too. It's also very useful, and that's under this sandwich. Talking about timeline management. So let me go ahead and import something. Import to the stage. As you can see here too, this is my drawings folder for my project, for my short film. I draw based on the shot. So after I know the storyboards, I go ahead and start putting things in. So let's say we have our shot 3 will be the villain. Right, in my film it's shot 8. It imports like this. So I'm going to import everything, select all layers, and make sure it's onto Animate layer, and click OK. So there's my 3rd scene, and talking again to remind you about the timeline. It's not that easy to zoom in and out of your timeline. There's actually no way to really do this. So the best way to do this is to go over here and just type in 1000. Let's say you're on 1000 frame. But in this case there isn't, but that's the easiest way to do it. If you want to add frames, let's say you want this hold for 20 frames, hit F5, but if you want a keyframe, hit F6. So now there's a keyframe for the eyebrows. If you want to create a blank keyframe there, so for the eyebrows layer, let's say you want to just go away, hit F7, and F7 is there. So it's F5, F6, and F7 to do that, F8 to create symbol. Playback is hitting enter, or this button here, and to see it in real time, hit the play test movie button up in the top corner, and you can test it in real time. That's how it looks. So it's going to go through each of the scenes, and so we went through scene 1, 2, and 3. Scene 2, there's really nothing there, so that's why you see that white frame. So that is that. I wanted to show you quickly how to use Animate. There's the drawing tools, which I didn't mention. It's very similar to Illustrator and Photoshop, so it's pretty self-explanatory. But keep learning. Professor Pete, out.